Let's see. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing really well. This is Tracy Brown, your somatic nutrition dietitian and attuned eating specialist. And this week we are going to cover the topic of fullness, and it's a really interesting one because there's just like this little middle line between trying to control that so much, but also knowing that when we're struggling with stopping at fullness, it also means something that we don't want to just ignore as well. So let's just go ahead and dive in and get started. It's interesting, and today's topic is going to be about why we struggle with stopping at fullness. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the fear about that on Wednesday, and then Friday is going to be just some Q&A about fullness and your questions, your concerns, what you've been successful at, and I'll probably throw in some little extra stuff as well as a bonus. So let's go ahead and get started. The thing about fullness is that we all have it. It's like this natural, it is a natural stopping place in a body's ability to comfortably comfortably hold to a certain capacity food intake. So when we are pushing up against our pressure receptors in our stomach, when we get those signals, those are physiologic, like your body's saying, okay, we're good for now. Now, that doesn't mean that we're robots and that we are required to be, again, the hunger fullness diet here and stopping at fullness, because normal eaters, with quotes, normative eaters, we can sense that when we're full, but it's like, oh, that's just so good and I want to keep going. Or I don't know when I'm going to be this place again, and it's totally worth a little bit of discomfort, I'm going to go past that. And when that's not happening very often, our bodies just rev up, take care of that extra energy, no big deal. If we get over full, it's just not a big deal, and weights stay relatively stable over time. Just when that happens occasionally, it's when we have all kinds of reasons that we might overeat, and we're going to talk about that more later this week. We're not going to talk about the reasons why today. We're going to talk about, we'll talk a little bit more about the reasons why. When it comes to, so normative eaters sometimes overeat because it's good. Sometimes we got too hungry, and it's hard to put the brakes on when you've gotten really, really starving and all the way to full. Not a big deal. But the two things that I often see when I work with clients are diet backlash. A lot of times, even thoughts about restricting after you've been on even one diet, let alone decades of dieting, even one time can cause this bodily fear of like, oh, I don't want to go back there again. I do not want to be starved again. I don't want to do it. And so even thoughts of restricting can cause like a little bit of extra eating just to make sure that you're going to be okay. So think about that for a second. Your body is trying to protect you. So if you're thinking that, like, if you're having a body image day and you're not happy with your body and you start having thoughts about, well, maybe I should restrict, and that thing on TV looked really, maybe that I haven't done that before, maybe that'll be different. Even thoughts like that, and you can't help that, but even those thoughts, the very next meal, or even 5 minutes later, can be like, okay, get it in, and there's a body anxiousness response because it's not natural for us to purposely restrict our food. I mean, calorically depriving ourselves over time, for the sake of looking a different way. The body doesn't compute that as a reason that food should be withheld. I mean, we don't eat as much when we're sick, maybe, or under a lot of stress, like a stressful situation, but there's mechanisms to make sure you don't starve to death to deal with that. But prolonged purposeful food restriction is a stress response. So the body's going to try to get you to fix that, essentially. So the best we can do for ourselves is, in this process, as hard as it is, to really work on that, the cultural milieu we're in, and that's what's been internalized in ourselves, which is thinking that we should weigh less to be okay somehow, and focus on behaviors and focus on you don't have to love your body, but at least being at a truce kind of place at the beginning is really important. So that's one way I see people that we overshoot our fullness. Now the other one is going to be more emotional, and it's one of those things that, eating when we feel really up can bring us down back into our bodies. Eating when we can't feel anything, when we feel despondent or low or numb, can help us feel something. And that's different. That's definitely different from overeating based on calorie restriction, or based on even thoughts of calorie restriction. So it's definitely a different. I wish I could say that I haven't done just about everything in my history, but I have. So they feel different. The eating to prepare for a famine versus feeling so dysregulated in your system or overwhelmed that we either eat to bring ourselves down or eat to feel something. And to feel something is very real. And so these are the things that we want to start giving ourselves support about, and not underestimating, and not diminishing that it's real, and that it's a strategy that we've employed to help ourselves. So if we can see it in that way, and even if it happens, not pile judgment and shame on top of the already pain you might be in, the anger or the sadness or the fear. And so again, other videos this week are going to be talking more about what to do about that. And you might already have some strategies in place right now as we speak. But I want you to be thinking about just your first step as recognizing, if you're not sure what happened, get curious, be hypothetical. Like, I was feeling really revved up and I caught myself standing and kind of eating, and then before I knew it, I got really a little over full, or maybe I just got really full, but I was reaching for things that don't satisfy me, don't satisfy what I think I was hungry for. And that's your decoding message for today, is start thinking about what you're reaching for and what you're looking to satisfy. Because that's all this is. It's not any lack of being able to understand things or too out of control emotions. It's more about, we have a certain capacity, and we have what we're feeling, and if that's above the capacity that we currently have or resources we know, we might reach for something that's worked even though we don't want to. And that's what that's all about. So it's more about like the reach, noticing that I want to reach, I really need that, I gotta have that. And be curious, well, is this out of the fact that I haven't let myself have that in 10 years? You might need to let yourself have that and get as full as you need to. Or is this about, no, I feel like I can eat whatever I want, and I've been doing that, and this just feels different. This feels like I'm just really revved up, and this helped me like just find myself like in space here a second, or this helped me settle myself. And that's the next step, is like, okay, what do I need in my system to feel more settled? Because I can eat. Eating's always an option on the table, but we want it to be one of maybe many, many options versus the top one and the only one, if that makes sense. So I hope this video was helpful, and that it brings a little bit more nuance and insight to maybe what you're experiencing, to separate it out, and know that like eating is one strategy that all humans use to soothe and settle and comfort, all those kind of things. It's not like that's the issue. It's like when it's our only, and it's done in a way that we don't know what's happening, and we don't really feel all that in charge of it, and where we don't really have we haven't had the experience of like what's happening here, that like, and what's got me so revved up, and look, both micro, it could be a word said, it could be a thing on the radio, it could be like, if you look at the bigger picture of life, it's like I'm running every day, and that's not sustainable. And maybe I'm using my food because I won't give myself permission to stop running, or I don't know how, or there's something else. And that's what I want you to be curious about with today's video. So thank you all so much for watching. If this was helpful, I would love for you to let your friends know about it, because this isn't, we like to give like kind of black and white, change your thinking kind of things, to food issues, and some of that works for some people, or some of it works a little, some of it works a little for a little while, and that's it. And I want us to get into the embodied way of looking at, what's happening with our food is probably happening in some part of our life that needs our attention. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video about this topic. Take care. Bye.